Good evening and welcome to Thinking Re-envisioned. You're just seconds away from the unmatchable Henry G. Noel. Believe me, this is the tune-up your cognition has been waiting on. Here's Henry.
Welcome, everybody, to Transitional Radio, home of Brian Brody's all-natural being, IPM Nation's Sneak Speaks, Lee Rawley's Copy That Speaks, and this, the 29th episode of Thinking Re-envisioned. Hi, I'm Henry G. Noel, your host for Thinking Re-envisioned, where we are committed to making you think, making you question, and making you question everything. I wish to thank you for joining me this Monday evening. And tonight, I present destiny, or fate, or karma, or kismet, whichever term you use to define it. It is the driving force behind our lives, or is it something else? I'd love your opinion on if you believe our lives have been predetermined as destiny declares, or do we determine our lives as we go? We are live this evening from our uplink studio in beautiful Cuenca, Ecuador, 2 degrees south of the equator. We are broadcasting live on IPMNation.com, Thinking Re-envisioned's Facebook and YouTube pages. And I wish to thank all our listeners from around the globe, listening on live radio, those listening to the rebroadcasts, and you guys on Fly on the Wall video listeners for taking the time to tune in. I'd like to welcome our newest listeners from Botswana, Ivory Coast, Zambia, China, and Gambia. I would also like to thank our good friends at Wirecast for making it possible for us to be broadcasting both live and globally. And again, a big thank you to my brother Wayne for managing all the crap we throw at him. So I appreciate it. Thank you, bro. So to all of our listeners who wish to participate in this show, please email me at henry@henrygnoel.com. It's right down there. And I wish to present a show where everybody can be as actively involved as they want. Now, we trust that you have had an enjoyable Monday thus far, and I am hoping that that continues. So let's get into tonight's topic of destiny and see what the consensus says about it, okay? So, again, I want to thank everybody for joining in. Wayne, thank you. Matt, appreciate you jumping in here. Jamie, great to see your icon pop up. Peace. It's great to see you. Thank you. It's good to have you guys on. No, I was writing an article today for a magazine out of Las Vegas, and the topic that's coming up this spring was dealing with destiny. And so I got to thinking about what my beliefs are, what my thoughts were. And so I put a 796 word article together and thought, what not? I'm going to bring it to you guys, and not so much the article, but get your opinion as to what it is and see, has our past been predetermined so that no matter what we did, we were doing it because it was predetermined? And does that mean that our future is predetermined, in which case, no matter what we do, it's actually predetermined that that's what we're going to do? Or is it that we actually have some control over what it is that we believe in or what we are going to do? My consensus on destiny or kismet or karma or whatever, fate, I kind of tended to believe that it's almost a means of, I guess, shucking our responsibility in a way. I mean, if everything I've done in the past was fate, so all the things I did wrong was fate, then I'm really not responsible for it because I had no choice. It was fate. And I think that would tend to lend me toward the side of saying, well, wait a minute, I did a bunch of bad things. I don't have to worry about it anymore. It was fate. It was destiny. The same thing with coming up in the future. I don't have to work for anything. Don't have to really push anything because it's fate. So I just don't tend to agree with it, but I want to know what you guys do. So Candace says no. Candace says yes. I believe the choices we make will determine our destiny. Okay, good. And then thank you. So we are okay, and that is totally in line with what I'm saying, because Destiny, the destiny believers think that it doesn't really matter, that you're going to do whatever it is you're going to do because it is destiny. And I tend to think like you do. I said, yeah, I believe that when we make our decisions, we are creating our destiny, not our destiny has already been created and we're just fulfilling it. And so I tend to go along with that, Candace. Thank you. Yeah, I was curious what you all have to say, because to me it just seems to be a little bit disillusional to think that we have no say in our fate. I mean, everybody talks about karma, and I believe we create our karma as we go along. I think that if we looked at destiny as I do with these images of having our path laid out before us, where you've got this walkway that kind of starts at the very bottom image of the photograph or the picture, and it kind of meanders through the picture and then goes out the top off to the horizon someplace. To me, I think that fits destiny. We're walking along a path, and so therefore that's destiny. Went from one place and we're going to another. But my conception of creating our path is looking at those edges of the path and then taking a step off that path, placing your foot in the sand, and now that is your path. You are now off this physical path and you are creating your own as you go. And to me, that is what I believe in creating our own karma. So I disagree with the destiny people, but which is interesting to have to write an article on destiny, and yet I'm actually going juxtaposition of destiny, because I'm saying that no, I just don't agree with destiny. I believe that it is we that create our destiny, not that destiny is simply there, and no matter what we do, that is what destiny dictated to us. So thank you, Candace. I really do appreciate your comment, because I think that that's really far more important than what it is that they say that we do. So again, yeah, not knowing everything, not knowing everything. I mean, that's just it. I'm not a walking encyclopedia. So I think that it's important to get a good grip on what it is we are, who we are, and what we're trying to do, because it is, to me, um, I would like to think we have some control of our lives, or at least with some responsibility. I mean, if we're going to blame it all on destiny or fate, that's what it was. It was karma. I didn't have any option. That's why I shot that guy. It was just karma. I think we give up our responsibility by following the line of destiny, or that destiny dictates our lives. I think we give up our responsibility to living our lives, making the decisions. And so that's why I believe that it's just to me, it just seemed to be kind of different. So Candace says some people still stay on the wrong path. Some will choose it better. And you're right, they do. And I think that's it. I think as we come to terms with the idea that the path that we've been walking has been from what we've learned and what's been taught to us. And I mean, I know so many people that out there doing their jobs. I mean, they're lawyers and doctors, and they finally get up to where they're in their 50s and finally said, I never wanted to do this. I never wanted to be a lawyer, but my dad was a lawyer. He wanted me to be a lawyer, so I worked in his company. Or I never wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to sail around the world, but I got stuck with the bills. I went to medical school, got stuck with the student loans, and now had to pay them off. So I ended up going into being a doctor. And I think a lot of people do this. And so in your, they call it a midlife crisis. I don't know if it's exactly a midlife crisis or a midlife waking up, that we decide to step off the path that we've been walking all our lives, that was laid out for us by somebody else, and saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. And we step off the path, and all of a sudden you become the doctor that decided to go sailing for the next 20 years. Or you become the lawyer who says, you know what, I always wanted to race cars, and that's what he does. So I really do believe that we do come to a point in our lives where destiny doesn't make sense, and that it is our conscious effort to make a difference in our lives and begin to do the things that we really wanted to do. Good evening, John. Welcome. And it's great to see you. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. What we're talking about tonight, John, is destiny. I had to write an article for a magazine out of Las Vegas, and the question, the whole premise for the magazine is going to be this at least this issue was going to be on destiny. And so I wrote this article that was pretty much against destiny, because I don't believe that destiny dictates what we do. I think what we do dictates destiny. And so I wanted to throw it out there. Since I had to write the article, I wanted to see what you all thought about it, because it's important to understand how you guys think too. And for those listening on the radio, the same thing. Send me a message if that's the case, so that I have an idea of what you guys think about destiny. Is it really we can shuck all of our responsibility and not have any responsibility at all by simply blaming it on it was karma? Or do we really have the responsibility and we actually create the karma based on the decisions we make? It's sort of like the chicken and the egg thing, but I believe there is a finite difference here between it, because one tends to remove our responsibility from our decisions, and the other makes us totally responsible for our decisions. So again, that's what I was trying to put out there to see what you guys thought about it. I know it's we all talk about it, and going through this whole process of self-realization, self-renewal, change, and all of that. One of the things that comes up is karma, or kismet, or fate, or destiny, however you want to look at it. And that is one of the things that people have to deal with, is this whole concept of, is it destiny, or is it we are responsible and therefore we make the decisions and now we create our destiny? So that's what it is, and that's what this whole show is trying to be about. And I love your input. So everybody, you can jump in as you need. So this is what I'm looking to do, and I'm going to try to take it as shows go along here, to try to bring some of these issues to you, and just to throw them out there. Again, my job is to make you think. So that's what I'm going to do. Candace says, I know you don't care for the video I sent you, but how she was describing peace in the inner self, and merely do something small each day. You grow and hopefully rub off on others. And that, no, you're right. That's a cool video. There are things that we really do. You can't eat the whole elephant in one sitting. You can only deal with it in little bites. And that may be a very lousy example, because I don't want to hurt an elephant, but at the same time, this is how we have to handle these huge things that we have to do in our lives. And believe me, change is a big deal. It really is. Jamie says, I think we also get to a point in life where we know the path we were on didn't work. Therefore, enlightened, God, whatever works for you. Absolutely, Jamie, absolutely right. And there is an awakening. There is awakening that we go through. And, hence my other site that's on here is called Waken. And that is to do that, is to get people to just really wake up. And I'm trying to really dig into the millennials, to really get them to understand that the disillusionment that they face, coming out of school, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, waving a piece of paper that they thought entitled them to something. Sorry, it isn't destiny. You're going to have to work at it. And this is what I really want people to understand, because I think it's important. One, hopefully it'll circumvent another generation of going through all that we've had to do, but turn them on a little bit more and make them a little bit more sensitive to what is going on. Thicken their skin a little bit, and give them a taste of what reality is all about, but give them a heads up. Let them know what's going on. That, yes, we have been doing this for a few too many decades now that I want to care to remember, and it's time to change. It is time to change, and we can only do that in small bits at a time. And that's why part of this when I started off with the honesty, and then went to the fear, and then went to the hatred, and went to the guilt, and remember that the symbols and all of that, and the classifications, and I quit doing that because I wanted to go ahead and go into different stuff. And a lot of it was I sat here reading, and I didn't feel like doing that. That's not what I wanted to do, making this a one-sided conversation. So I think that it's important that we'll get back to that, but it'll become in a different format. and more of a conversation type thing. But it's important that we do it in small pieces. Take a piece of our life, take something in our life, fear, a piece of fear. What fear makes us fearful? What are the things we're afraid of? And deal with that. Do the things that we have to do in order to take control of the fear and not have that fear. And that sets us one step closer to that awakening. And it does. It happens in small pieces. Candace says, who made penicillin? Who was his parents? Maybe his parents' destiny was to have a child that would have served millions of people's lives. Very possibly. Very, very possibly. You know, we don't know. See, hindsight is very interesting because we've already done it. And so now we can say, okay, yeah, that was possibly destiny. Now, what about tomorrow? What about the future? What about the next decision we make? Is that destiny telling us that we're going to make that decision, or are we creating destiny? And so it's a precarious little subject, a little bit different. And sorry about that, runny nose. But it is something that we have to deal with. We have to come to terms with. We have to understand. We have to develop our own belief, our own opinion about it, so that we can really get a grip and start to identify more of who we are. You know, this is what the whole bottom line is who are we really? And bringing in the point of being honest about it. Who are we honestly? And really taking a good look as to who we are, what has made us the way we are. Um, Again, it says, yes, we could be. You're right. You're right. So the whole objective is, are we in control? Or is destiny in control? Is fate in control? Is kismet in control? Is it all about karma? In which I guess I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about my decisions. I don't have to worry. If it's karma, then whatever I say is going to be what karma dictated. I'm also then not responsible, am I? It's karma. I mean, what can you say? It's karma. But I believe we have a little bit more responsibility than that. So it's a tough thing to try to go through. And plus the fact that we dealt, my parents, had me and, and taught me, and as did teachers, as did religious leaders. And yes, I've had to go through and unlearn an awful lot of what I was taught because it didn't fit. It didn't fit the paradigm any longer of what I was seeing in the world. I couldn't make sense of why the world kept getting worse and worse and worse, why politicians lie and lie and lie, and we sit back and take it. It didn't make sense to me anymore. And so I said, no, there's got to be somewhere I now have to draw a line in the sand, and I've got to figure out what's got to be. So I went through this whole process of self-renewal, if that's really what you want to call it, years and years of it, in order to strip away piece by piece the hatred, the anger, the fear, the guilt, all of these things that tend to hold us back from growing because we are so then controlled. John says, neither the programming is in control. But do you believe we can take back can we take control, John? Do you really believe we can take control, or is there nothing we can do? I believe becoming aware, I think, understand, number one, I think accepting the fact that the programming occurred. That's step number one, admitting it. Number two, I think then going back and seeing where in our life that programming has affected us. I think there's another step. And then I think going through and testing out, if you want to call it a different programming, to replace the programming that you had, to see if that makes a difference in your life. But I'd be curious as to what you feel is can we actually control our own programming? Can we strip away the programming? I believe we can, because I did it. And I'd be curious to whether or not you could do it. And if the fact that you understand that the programming has happened, and what have you done now to disassociate yourself, unplug yourself from the matrix in order to not be affected by the program. And I'd be curious as to what you went through. Jamie says it's also not wanting to repeat your bad behavior that we choose to change and become more aware. Again, absolutely, Jamie. Thank you. Great. I'm going to have you start writing for me because I think that's perfect. It's really what it's all about. You know, we we learn from our mistakes. Okay, we're supposed to learn from mistakes. It's okay. We all make mistakes, and we can make a million of them, as my dad used to say. Just don't make the same one twice. You know, just learn from the mistakes that we make, because you never learn from what you do right. You learn from what you do wrong. And I think that that's extremely critical. And again, yeah, programming from my dad, very possibly, but some of the programming was really useful and still useful in kind of opening your eyes to what's going on. You know, the other one that he used to say that really kind of hit me was, you know, listen, believe half of what you read and nothing of what you hear. Well, we don't read a lot anymore, but we sure do listen to an awful lot. And if that's the case, my dad said, you don't ever believe anything you hear, because you got to research it. You got to check things out. So John says, I believe there are people that have taken control of their own life. As for all of us at one time, hard to say. It might take losing a lot of us, as in some type of catastrophic situation, for us to wake up. Again, I hate to agree. I really do hate to agree with you, John, on this one. But I think you're right. And it's not human nature, because we don't all do it. One of the definitions that I decided was that if it's going to be classified as human nature, that means every human would have to react the same way under the same circumstances. So it's not human nature. But I believe that humans are very reluctant to change. And one way we do change is when the choice is no longer ours to make. When the choice has been made for us that we have to change, then we change. Sorry about that. If I start cracking up, it's because my brother has just done something on the other screen. Held up a bag of, I think they're goldfish. I think they are. Yep, they're goldfish. I love it. I haven't seen those in years. But Candace says we're writing a book. Says, yep, you and Jamie Candace really do nail things quite similarly, and you think the same way, and I think that's really very important. And Dallas, welcome, Dallas. It's great to see your icon pop up. Thank you for joining us. We're running down to the last 6 minutes or so, but I really do think, John, that you're right. It's going to take a stick of dynamite attached to a 2x4 to get some people's attention. I think the idea of us all changing at the same time, I think I've set that back on a back burner for a long time ago. I don't believe that that's ever going to happen. I believe that if we can change one person at a time, if we make the effort to change and become an example, that's the encouragement to see other people do it. And again, I never set out to create an army, or as I was accused of when I first got started into this was, oh great, just what we needed is another church. That is not the intention. The intention is to get people to simply wake up, take back the responsibility for themselves, place their egos in check so that they understand when they want something, how they can define whether or not it's their egos or their wants, and start placing their needs above the priority. So, and to me, that's would be a major change right there. Because if we can actually start to gain control and understand why we make the decisions we do, the programming, as John says, then we stop some of that fear. We stop some of that hatred. We stop some of that guilt. We start to understand why we do the things that we do, why we did the things that we do. And it's not so much so that you can blame it on karma. It's so that we can understand better who and what we really are. So I don't know, John, if we actually would change a whole bunch of people at one time. And usually it takes some catastrophic event in order to create the environment of change. 5 more minutes to go. And I wish it didn't have to do that. I really wish, because it never holds. I mean, when 9/11 happened, And whether you believe it was a government thing or whether it was, Islamic terrorists, I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. The bottom line is the country united under a very traumatic event. Well, it didn't last very long, but we united. And that's what happens with these events. We get everybody's attention, but it's for a short period of time. It doesn't last. The only way to make it last is to do it one body at a time, one person at a time, where they really understand why things are happening the way they are, where they can really put life in perspective. And so that's what Thinking Re-envisioned is all about, trying to get people to rethink the way their life has been, rethink the way we live our lives presently, get off the path that's been laid out for us, and start getting the chutzpah, the confidence, eliminate the fear of venturing out on our own and creating our own path. Moving here to Ecuador is exactly what I did. Stepped off the path, literally off the path, out of the country, off the path, and started walking my own path. And I have never regretted it. It has been the most remarkable experience. I think we're going to get told that I'm down to 2 minutes, which is good. I'm waiting, and it's coming. It's coming. So yeah, 3 minutes. Okay, gotcha. I love it. And so yeah, this is what it's all about. And I can't thank you guys enough. I really can't for hanging with me. Thank you so much for sticking with it. I know what I talk about is out there, and I know you don't all agree with it. I understand that, and I knew that going into this. So, but I do thank you for at least giving the respect enough to listen and to participate in this stuff. So, I don't mean to ruffle feathers, but I'm going to ruffle feathers. It's just I don't have a choice. I mean, to get everyone's attention, I'm going to have to wield a 2x4, and that's what I'm going to do. That's what the show is all about. It's wielding that 2x4. Hopefully, I don't have to stick the dynamite on the end of it, but just to make you think. I mean, I'm not joking. That is what the byline is of this whole show. I'm here to make you think. I'm here to make a question, to question everything. Because it's not the way you seem. Well, we're down to a minute, almost a minute and a half. Look at that. I'm watching the finger come up. And I'm not going to discuss which finger, but it's coming up. So so we've got this. Again, thank you all for doing this. Thanks for joining with me tonight. Thanks for sticking with me, and I appreciate it. A big thank you to Brian. I'm really hoping he pushes it. Really, I hope he backs off from pushing it as much as he is pushing it. He's determined to try to come back tomorrow night. If he does, it's going to be a big open arms and warm welcome. If he can't, it's no big deal. But he's planning on coming back tomorrow, and so we're going to see what he does. Let's see. Karma does bite people in the arse. Yes, it does. A change in speaking in the public are two things people feel. Yes, it is. Very much, Jamie. I know, scares me to death sitting here doing this. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. More than like to admit. John, I know, totally true. And again, thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow evening, same time. Love you all. Thank you so much. Good night and hasta mañana.